Hi guys, it's Kales, and while I am well aware that January is almost over, I decided to go ahead and make a monthly recommendations video for the month of January. For those of you who are not aware, Monthly Recommendations is a Goodreads group that was created by Kayla Rayne and Trina from Between Chapters. Every month, kind of like Top 5 Wednesdays, except it's monthly instead of weekly, we make videos recommending books to other booktubers. And this month's topic is fantasy. And I got a couple books here for you guys. So the first one that I have on my list is actually the book series that I'm reading right now, and that is Snow Like Ashes and Ice Like Fire by Sarah Rash. I'm really enjoying this series right now. I'm about, where am I at? I'm a little less than 100 pages, 130 pages from the end or so. It's about this young girl named Mira who is from the Kingdom of Winter, which has been attacked and broken down and placed in basically like concentration camps of this world. There's different kingdoms, there's rhythms and season kingdoms, and she's from one of the season kingdoms, Winter, and trying to reclaim their land. She's best friends with the king, or the prince, who is hopefully going to reclaim his throne, Mather. They meet one of the rhythm cities, and just these plots keep twisting and turning, and I can't wait to do a full review on this series because I quite like it a lot. Then I have to pick up The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard, because this is an excellent fantasy series as well that I enjoy, and I can't wait for The Glass Sword. I read this in like 7 hours, blazed through it. It's about a world where people are separated by the color of their blood. The silvers have like special powers, and the reds blooded people are just normal. Mare is the lead character in this, and she has red blood but comes to find out somehow that she has silver-like powers, and she gets wrapped up in the world of the silvers, and it's very interesting. I like it quite a lot, actually. Like I said, I read it in 7 hours and couldn't stop talking about it. I had the biggest book hangover ever from this thing. So, yes, this is also an excellent one. But another series that I think some people know about, but I honestly haven't heard a lot of talk of it on YouTube, is the Warrior Heir series by Cindy Williams Chima, which is an excellent fantasy series. It's kind of like an urban fantasy, but it morphs itself into fantasy as the series continues. Right now there's 5 of them out, and this first one centers named Jack, who in this world people are born with stones on their hearts, and that gives them different abilities. There's warriors and wizards and enchanters. Well, he was born with a wizard stone, but the wizard stone got taken out of him and a warrior stone got put in, which is an interesting combination. And he learns about the War of the Roses and this world as he gets kind of swept up in it. And I think it's so fascinating. My brother and I are huge fans of this series, as well as my aunt really likes this one too. This next one, if you've been on my channel long enough, you have heard of this series, and you should have read it by now, or started it, because it's one of the best urban fantasies I've ever read, and that is The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. Guys! Seriously, wizard detective in Chicago. There's like 15 books. It's amazing and sarcastic and witty and funny, and I love this book series, and I can't wait for the next one to come out, which I actually don't know when that is. I'm hoping it's sometimes this year, but I could be way wrong. I don't know. The other 2 fantasy series that are written by Jim Butcher that I would also recommend, but I have not read them, but just because I love Jim Butcher, I have them. One is the Aeronaut Windglass, which is a steampunk fantasy series. And then the Codex Alera, which is very mythical, medieval series. So I've been told. Again, I have these. I plan on reading them. I just love Jim Butcher, so read him. The next book I have is one that not a lot of people I've seen talk about on BookTube, and that is Magic or Madness by Justine Lancaster. Or Laura Bellister. I'm so sorry. That's wrong. This is about a young girl, I think she's 15, her name is Reason, and her mother, Seraphina, is insane. They're trying to run away from her grandmother, Esmeralda, who practices magic and has been told that magic is bad. And it's got a very interesting mental illness element to the madness as well in this book series. I think it's a trilogy, if I can remember correctly. I know there's at least 2. Justine Lancaster is Scott Westerfield's wife, so that's pretty cool. Now, I've got some middle readers for you guys that are fantasy that I really liked from my childhood, and one is the Chronicles of Narnia series, which I am currently in the process of rereading. I'm on The Horse and His Boy, and it's taken a really long time. If you haven't heard of it by now, like, I don't know where you've been at all, really, but 4 kids find Narnia, a hidden world in a wardrobe. That's really all you need to know. I also want to talk about The Kingdom Keepers by Ridley Pearson, which I just love. I don't even know if this is true fantasy. I like to think it is. It's not like whole big fantasy world. To me, again, I think it's an urban fantasy, which is more what I like to read than like whole high fantasy. But this is about 5 kids who get to experience Disney after dark. And it's a long series. I think there's like 7 of them. I own the first 3. And I think it's just great because anybody who's fell in love with Disney World or Disney in general has always wanted to see the parks at night, and everything comes to life. And they fight villains, and it's just kind of like a dream come true, this book series. The next is an author that I absolutely love, is Emily Rhoda, and she has written there's a fairy series that she's written that is rather good, and then there's also the Rowan of Rin series and Deltora Quest. There's 8 books in Deltora Quest, there's 5 in Rowan of Rin. I don't know how many there are in the Faerie Realm series, but these are really great middle reader, kind of beginning chapter books, a little upgraded from like Magic Treehouse, but still kind of in the same realm. And they're excellent. Rowan of Rin centers around a young boy in a fantasy world who kind of goes on a Hobbit-like adventure. He's very much the Bilbo of his group, of his world. He's much more intelligent and not as brutish, kind of the nerd to the jocks of this society, but he gets swept up in this adventure to go kind of defeat the dragon that is raining hell on their town. Deltora Quest centers around a group of 3 going on this search for the king of Deltora. They're trying to find the gems that belong in this belt so that the king can reclaim his throne. And this also, I just remember, had the biggest twist in a big book series that I read as a kid. Like, this was a big deal to me. Because I read these before I read Harry Potter, and it was, oh man, they were great. And last but not least, I wanted to reference another author, which is Cameron Dokie, who writes retold fairy tale stories, which again, I don't quite know if that's fantasy, but I'm gonna count it as fantasy. This one I have here is The Storyteller's Daughter, which is my favorite of her books. And The Storyteller's Daughter is actually a retelling of Arabian Nights, and tells the story of Sherazade and her stories and how she is trying to not get killed by a king by telling him stories every night. And it's fascinating. And also, just on a Cameron Dokie note, me and WordsMaiden, you should check her channel out, I will link it down below, are going to be doing something really cool with this series coming up starting later this year. So keep an eye out for that. So here are all my fantasy recommendations. It turned into a lot more than what I thought I was going to originally do. So here's a lot of books. If you guys want to talk in depth more about any of these, or if you've read some of them and you want to share your opinions, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Until next time, bye! Woohoo! Don't fall, please don't fall. So that was a lot of... Yeah, it fell. The Dresden... My phone is ringing. It's a tweet. That's not mine. Okay.